Ever wish you had a personal assistant to just handle all the boring stuff? Well, today, we're actually going to show you how to build one. This is the blueprint for your very first AI agent, and we've broken it all down into simple, easy-to-follow steps.
I mean, does your day sometimes feel like you're just stuck in an endless loop of tedious tasks? Replying to the same kinds of emails, organizing data, scheduling posts, it really can feel like you're just buried under a mountain of busy work. Well, what if you had a tireless assistant to handle all that for you? Because that's exactly what an AI agent is for. It's a tool that's designed to automate those repetitive tasks, to free you up so you can focus on what really matters.
And here's the best part. You can build one yourself. Seriously, we're going to cut through all the complex jargon. Over the next few minutes, we are going to walk through the exact blueprint for designing and building your very first AI agent. Let's get into it.
All right, so just like any good building project, you have to start with a solid foundation. And building an AI agent, it's no different. So our first step is all about laying that groundwork. Before you write a single line of code, you need a really clear plan.
And that plan, well, it rests on 4 foundational pillars. We're talking about purpose, inputs, outputs, and metrics. If you can nail these 4 things, trust me, you are setting your agent up for success right from the very beginning. So just think of these 4 pillars as the big questions you absolutely have to answer before you start, right? What problem is this thing actually solving? What kind of data does it need to do its job? What's it going to give you at the end? And maybe most importantly, how will you know if it's even working? Answering these questions up front, honestly, it's the difference between an agent that's a game changer and one that just, well, doesn't work. Okay, foundation is set. Now it's time to build the agent's brain, what we call its cognitive architecture. This is the part that actually gives it the ability to think and remember stuff.
So the first part of the brain is something called the knowledge base. The easiest way to think about this is like the agent's permanent reference library. It's the ultimate source of truth it goes to whenever it needs to find a solid answer.
So what kind of stuff lives in this library? Well, think of it like the core curriculum for your agent. We're talking technical documentation, FAQs, company policies, maybe even a bunch of historical data. This is the absolute bedrock of knowledge that your agent is going to draw from. All right, the second part of the brain is its memory. And if the knowledge base is the big library, then the memory is more like the agent's short-term notepad. It's what lets the agent remember what you just talked about and keep the conversation flowing. So this notepad holds things like, the current conversation history, any specific user preferences it's picked up on, and just the immediate context of what's happening. This is the part that saves you from having to repeat yourself over and over again. Super important.
So here's the simplest way to remember the difference. The knowledge base is the library, full of permanent facts. The agent memory is the notepad, just for the current conversation. One is for long-term reference, the other is for short-term context. And here's the thing. A truly smart agent absolutely needs both to be effective.
Okay, enough of the theory, right? We've laid the foundation, we've built the brain. Now let's actually see what these agents can do out there in the real world. First up, let's talk about an email summarizer. Just imagine an agent that plows through all those super long, dense emails in your inbox, pulls out the key points, and just sends you a quick, concise summary. I mean, no more drowning in emails. How great would that be?
Or hey, what about a social media scheduler? You just give it some basic guidelines and the agent literally generates creative content and schedules it for you across all your platforms. It's basically like having a dedicated content assistant on your team, 24/7.
And finally, a personal favorite, the data entry assistant. This is an agent that can automatically pull info from emails or web forms and just organize it perfectly into a spreadsheet or a database. Think about that. It completely eliminates one of the most mind-numbingly tedious tasks out there.
Okay, so as we wrap things up, let's boil all of this down into a few key takeaways, some principles you can take with you when you start your own project.
Here are the big best practices to keep in mind. First, always remember, garbage in, garbage out. You got to make sure your input data is clean. Second, be super clear about what you want the output to look like. Third, really get the difference between that short-term memory and the long-term knowledge base. And finally, don't forget that your knowledge base isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a living document. You have to keep it updated.
And maybe the most important takeaway of all is this. Launching your agent is just the beginning. It's not the finish line.
The real magic happens when you continuously monitor how it's doing and keep making it smarter and better over time.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Now that you have the blueprint, think about all that busy work we talked about at the start. What's the very first problem you're going to have your agent solve?